All right, by now, guys, you know I love talking about old wrestling. What you might not know is it's not my real passion. My real passion is helping people save money. My real passion is getting families out of apartments and into houses. My real passion is getting people's finances aligned so they can retire on time. I hated going to Walmart and seeing the greeter being 80 years old. She should not be working. She should be home. Why is she still working? Because she still has a mortgage. I want to help avoid that for you. The other thing I want to help you with, let's make sure your kids don't get saddled with student loans. If you've got a student loan, why did you get one? Maybe because your parents still had a mortgage. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm being sincere. There's only so much money to go around. What I want to help you do is figure out where you are right now and where you want to be long term. And I do it at SaveWithConrad.com. I've been doing mortgages for more than 20 years. And during all that time, we've helped tens of thousands of families change their life. I mean, routinely, we're helping our podcast listeners save $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. But more importantly, get them out of debt faster and with cheaper monthly payments. But if you don't think it can happen for you, let me just tell you this. We are not the bank. We don't say no. We say not yet, but here's how. We're going to get you a game plan on how to improve your credit, how to save a little bit of cash, and how to get into that dream house. Maybe you're already in the house, but it would be nice if someday we could put a pool in the back, or one day we want to upgrade to hardwood floors, or remodel the kitchen, or get a badass master bathroom. I can help you do all of that with no money out of pocket right now at SaveWithConrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket. And if we can't help you save some cash, we won't waste your time. Check it out, SaveWithConrad.com, NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. And hey, y'all, don't take my word for it. Check us out. We've got an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. And as if that's not enough, go look at our reviews. Read them and weep, haters. ConradReviews.com. You'll see more than 1,000 5-star reviews. Our average review is 4.72 stars. Find out how much money you can save. Take control of your life in 2023 by taking control of your finances. We're going to show you how to keep more of your own money. If you've got credit card debt, what are you paying on that? 14%? 28%? You know you can do better. With the mortgage, though, you may not know this, the interest you pay is tax deductible. And we can even show you how to skip your next 2 house payments. So if you could get a lower monthly payment, pay your debt off faster, get a greater tax deduction at the end of the year, and right now, right after the holidays, skip your next 2 payments, buddy, this is the biggest no-brainer in the history of the world. Find out how much money you can save right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com, or hey man, shoot me an email directly, Conrad@SaveWithConrad.com.
February 5th marks the 35th anniversary of one of the most memorable angles in wrestling history. An angle that had Hulk Hogan seeing double.
There's 2 of them!
Yes, the famous twin referee angle with brothers Earl and Dave Hebner that took place on the inaugural episode of Main Event, with Andre the Giant pinning WWF champion Hulk Hogan. It would also mark Earl Hebner's WWF debut. On February 5th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 35 years to the day, ad-free shows members will get the opportunity to watch back this historic moment live alongside Earl Hebner in our latest premium watch-along event. All $29 level members and higher are invited, and Top Guy members will get to come up and ask Earl questions. Reserve your seat by signing up today at adfreeshows.com.
Welcome to Something to Wrestle with.
Something to wrestle with.
Bruce Prichard.
Bruce Prichard.
Well, you know.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard. Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
Got a little something to wrestle with, goddamn pal. What you want to wrestle with today, boy? I got something for you to wrestle with. I have been up. I have worked out. I have bathed. I have eaten a nutritious breakfast of egg whites, turkey, and spinach. And by God, I'm ready to go.
Man, I like when you're in a good mood. This is a good Bruce today. I'm pumped.
Dressed everything. Yeah, you giving me shit. Oh, hey, Bruce dressed this morning. I dress every morning.
I know that, but sometimes
come to work, man.
Sometimes we record on the weekends, and you've just flown in and landed at 3 a.m, and it's 7 when we're recording, and you're a little disheveled. And this morning, boy, you're rip roaring ready to go. You're office ready today.
Yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll. Because I get done here, I go to my day job.
There you go. Well, hey man, shout out to you. You guys did a fantastic job with the Royal Rumble. I had a chance to watch it and thought it was a fantastic pay-per-view. One of the best pay-per-views in a long time. And people are loving some of the storylines you guys are doing. And I know we don't talk about current stuff, but high five on the success of the Royal Rumble. A critical success, but a huge financial success. We all saw Triple H's tweet, just all kinds of new Rumble records. So, hey man, kudos to you and the rest of the WWE crew. Business is a booming over there these days.
You're a Rumble record.
Well, we're going to talk about a little Rumble record. How about the very first one? That's our topic today.
The Rumble Royal or the Royal Rumble?
Either way.
Okay.
1989. Of course, we're coming off the heels of the very first Survivor Series, 1998. We covered that back in the archives. Something to Wrestle number 129, if you would like to go hear that one. Of course, that pay-per-view extravaganza was created essentially to compete with Starrcade. And now here we are in January, and we're still in a battle with Jim Crockett Promotions. They're running in your backyard, a little bunkhouse stampede action. And, well, we're going to come up with a special idea, the Royal Rumble, or you called it the Rumble Royal.
Rumble Royal for a few weeks, by God.
So talk me through that.
Well, we didn't know what to call it. And Pat was trying to describe it. You got the legal run, and then it's like a run. It's like a... What the fuck am I trying to say? A battle royale at a pace, a case, and then they get big knee, and you run in, and you fuck you, and you get them out and shit. But, you know, we were trying to think of a name. Okay, we're not going to call it Battle Royal. We're not going to call it Legal Run-In Battle Royal. It needs a name. And since we were doing it in the province of Hamilton, Ontario, that somehow we came up with the Rumble Royal to make it special, to make it grand, to make it feel like it was royalty, to make it feel that this was larger than life itself. And that just didn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
But we did the first few announcements and the first few updates there with Gene Mean talking about the Rumble Royal coming to you on USA Network right here, folks. And then it kind of morphed into the Royal Rumble because the Royal Rumble was a little more prestigious, had a flow to it a little bit better than the Rumble Royal.
So I know we're going to talk a lot about the creation of the concept, but I mean, we all know that Pat Patterson gets credit with the idea, and you've told us before that Howard Finkel actually came up with the WrestleMania name. Do you know who deserves the credit for Royal Rumble?
Well, I think pretty much all of us kind of did. It was a discussion about, doing this special on USA. And at the time, I was the cable guy. I did all the cable shows and I did all the international shows. Joel Watts left in December. So now I'm inheriting everything. I don't know. God, I remember hearing the concept. Definitely remember hearing the concept. I definitely remember, Pat had pitched, when Pat would have something in his head, Pat would pitch everybody. If you were just going down with him in the elevator and it's like, he would say, what do you think about this? You have two guys that start and then every 2 minutes you send another guy in and then the match is the last one that stays. Star's just delivering the mail,
right?
Pat didn't care. He would pitch everybody these ideas, and so we had been trying to look. The concept sounded great. It was the execution. It was the sell. How do you, man? What is it? How do you sell it? And let's figure that out. Vince hated it. Pitched it to Dick Ebersol when we were talking about this special, and Dick loved it. Ebersol was like, "Oh my God, this is it's amazing! It's a legal run-in, right?" And the legal run-in thing became a deal. So we had actually done it, maybe in Providence or St. Louis or something like that. I know we did a couple of them in live events. but they didn't do that well. They were, the agents didn't understand how to do it. The boys didn't understand how to work it. And plus the audience didn't know what the hell they were getting. So it was a lot of work in progress. But to answer your question, I don't remember specifically who came up with it, other than we were looking at a royal event and this grandiose thing to put on USA Network at the time.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit before we talk about the actual event itself. Let's just pick up where we left off way back when we talked about Survivor Series 88. On the heels of that show, you had a Saturday night's main event a couple of days later, and it's built around Hulk Hogan's appearance on the Brother Love show, and basically he beats the shit out of you. What do you remember?
That was obviously Photoshop.
Can you sort of put in perspective? I mean, I know these days people look at Hulk Hogan differently. A lot of people think about him in the NWO run or all the stuff he's done outside of wrestling in years since WCW, or maybe some of the regrettable TNA stuff. But this is another animal here. Hulk Hogan in late 88. You're a pretty hot heel character in the Brother Love figure at the time. What was it like, being able to share a ring with him and do a program with him? How rabid were the fans for all things Hulk Hogan here in late 88?
I'd have to say this was probably Hulk's hottest time. And when you think about, my phone just beeped, I have to turn it off.
Unless it's somebody important,
Unless it's somebody important. No, it's not. That's it. But anyway, I'm turning it off right now.
How about that?
But Hogan was the man. Hogan was like, being in the ring with Hulk Hogan is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my entire professional career. It was electricity. You felt the arena shake. It was insane. The level of participation from the audience that loved him, man. That music hit and the roar. It was like being at the beach and just that roar of Hulk coming out. And then when he got in the ring with you, man, and he did that one look and the music came down, and it was just, for me, at this time was I 25,
right.
24, 25. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I never felt anything like it. And it was the type of reaction that people only dream of. And here I am in the ring with him and getting to experience it. I actually had the opportunity to talk to him. And I would like to I don't like to talk about current stuff. I will not talk about current stuff. But whatever report that Hulk Hogan's paralyzed from the waist down couldn't have been a stupider comment. Sorry, I'm going to say it, but that was a stupid comment. Especially, Hulk is not paralyzed from the waist down.
No, we saw him walk out on TV. So
yeah.
That's kind of how that works.
Well, good Lord, man, the way rumors and things are reported, it's absolutely silly, just downright silly sometimes. But then he sure as hell wasn't paralyzed, and it was, to be on the same card with Hulk was amazing. You wanted to stay and you wanted to hear that audience reaction whenever he came out, but to be in the ring with him and to get to work with him, nothing like it. Because it was, you knew at that point you couldn't get any higher in the business.
So we saw in the still photo there as he's putting the beat down on you, and hopefully you're checking this out over on YouTube. But
really, that was me slamming him, and you guys inverted it. But go ahead with your fake news.
Is this one of the first times you've taken a bump in a WWE ring?
Yeah, that was it. Right there, Vince didn't want anybody to touch me. It was like, no, we're saving that for Hulk, and no one could touch me, no one could grab me, no one could. I was off limits. Hulk was going to get that first one, and he did.
Does he say, "Okay, brother, here's how you take a Hulkster body slam"? Or, I mean,
I took body slams for ever since I was whatever 16 or so.
oh, okay.
I mean, I take bumps.
Tom just wearing you out.
Yeah.
So listen, on the heels of Survivor Series 88, we also see a little talent exchange of sorts. People are moving back and forth. Ronnie Garvin is going to come into the company right after Survivor Series 88. And of course, most people remember he was the main event with the world title belt that you see there. If you're watching over on YouTube, at Survivor Series, or I'm sorry, Starrcade 87. So 1 year later, just a year removed from that main event of sort of Jim Crockett Promotions version of WrestleMania, Starrcade, he's switching jerseys, man. He's coming to you guys. Does Ronnie call you guys up, or is Vince still trying to acquire some of that talent from down there?
Ronnie and Pat Patterson go way back. They've been friends from Montreal, and I think Ronnie was just talking about making a move, making a change. He was unhappy with Crockett, so he was looking to do something different.
What did what was it, a hire just as a favor for Pat, or did Vince see something in Ronnie?
I think, he had to have seen something in him and looked at him as a completely different type of attraction. Ronnie was not your flashy, over the top performer. Ronnie was a straight wrestler and just one of those guys that, there was no BS around Ronnie. And when you talk about tough, he's up there, and he's up there in that list of really tough guys inside and outside of the ring. But I don't know that he was the most charismatic guy in the world.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to be to disparage, his contributions to wrestling. I am just saying the WWF presentation at times could be a little over the top. So you had these larger than life characters like a Coco Beware or a Jake the Snake or the Bushwhackers or what have you. And then we bring Ronnie Garvin in, and he's not really saddled with one of these personas or gimmicks, if you will.
He was a hands of stone.
It's just fascinating to me that a guy like Terry Taylor comes in and he becomes the Chicken Man, and then Ron Garvin comes in.
But Ron Garvin was Ron Garvin, and that was a gimmick in and of itself. What would you have had Terry Taylor do? Ric Flair ripoff?
Okay. Dusty Rhodes is going to resign from Jim Crockett Promotions. Maybe because he didn't want to deal with the backlash. Maybe he had just had enough of corporate wrestling already. Whatever you want to call it. He's out of there. And it's going to take a break or a few months for the final break to actually happen. And we know that eventually Dusty is going to land in the WWF, but he's going to go try his own thing down in Florida for a little bit. But when you hear the news that Dusty is looking to leave Jim Crockett Promotions, were you excited about the idea of having him in the company, much like Ronnie Garvin was making a jump?
Not particularly. I think that at the time, especially when you're looking at the time, only Dusty and Jim Crockett would know what reasons there were for Dusty to leave and for Dusty to be asked to leave. I don't know. I heard Dusty's side of the story. I heard the other side of the story. There are always two sides and different versions to things. So Dusty wanted to go off, and Dusty wanted to basically open up Florida's Championship Wrestling again. So he wanted to go back to Florida, have his own promotion, and be in Florida and do his own thing. More power to him. I think that at the same time, Dusty realized that was a lot harder than it sounded, especially in the day and age when the national companies were the stronghold in the major markets, the South and Florida included in that. So it wasn't that I didn't want Dusty, but it was like, okay, who knows what this is actually really going to bring.
So you can hear more about the whole Dusty stuff in the archives. As a matter of fact, it was our very first episode. Let's talk about Super Clash though. AWA is going to put together Super Clash 3. It's going to happen on pay-per-view with Jerry Lawler taking on Kerry Von Erich, and Starrcade 88 is also going to happen on pay-per-view as well. Are these shows on you guys' radar at all? You've told us before that occasionally Howard Finkel would have people over to the house and cook steak burgers, and you guys would watch competitor pay-per-views. Do you remember watching either one of those shows with WWE personnel and just sort of scouting what everybody else was doing?
I'm almost positive I watched that Lawler Kerry thing. I thought that was abominable with all the blood and everything.
Yeah.
It was, to me, that was a sad state of affairs for Kerry and for Lawler. I didn't think that either one put their best foot forward in that regard. They had a lot of talent on that show, but it went nowhere.
Right.
If you go back and watch it, you're scratching your head going, who booked this and why?
Right.
And it was a great example of why Vince was able to promote the way that he did and to really have the success he did, because the chances of promoters and bookers from other places working together, just they couldn't do it. Their egos wouldn't let them do it. So you had, World Clash, you had Memphis, you had AWA, a little bit of Crockett. You had all this stuff in this one show, and everybody wanted to protect their guy or girl. And it was a hodgepodge, and it was a horrible, horrible show because nobody wanted to put anybody over, and everybody was trying to protect themselves. And the promoters all blamed each other for the lack of success. So yeah, I definitely watched that. I remember carrying the claw and bleeding all over Lawler and thinking, good God. Then, thinking, man, just that was a little too much.
Do you clearly we're talking about interpromotional matches and why you think they don't work. Do you think they could work now, these days in 2023?
No, same reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a company and you're building your company Your talent is your asset. Your talent that's the commodity that you are selling to the public. So you want to protect that. You want to build that up. And when you are to work with your competitor in that regard, becomes a very delicate fine line and a tightrope that you have to walk, because you want your guy to look good.
Right.
They want their guy to look good. It's difficult. That's why all those Super Bowl of wrestling, Superstar Billy Graham and Harley Race and Bockwinkel and, Superstar, whoever the hell. But there were a few of them over the years that, they drew a house once, but they were all hour Broadways or draws or some kind of bullshit in the middle of it. They weren't good.
Starrcade 88 is headlined by Ric Flair and Lex Luger for the NWA World Title. I'm curious, back in late 88, did Vince see anything in Lex Luger? I mean, just physically, it feels like this would have been Vince's sort of guy. What do you remember his opinion about Lex Luger being here in late 88?
I don't think that there was anything, oh my God, I've got to have Lex Luger.
Right.
Luger definitely had the look, definitely had the charisma, but I don't think that there was anything. There was no overtures made at that time, and nobody was saying, anybody know Lex? We got to get Lex. We need to talk to Lex. Let them know we're interested. There was none of that. Not to my knowledge at that time.
And to be clear, it sounds as if I was trying to sort of figure out where you would fit Lex Luger in, on the heel side of things, you're really looking for a monster factory for Hulk Hogan. You don't really need a quote unquote second Hulk Hogan who isn't quite Hulk Hogan, right? So if he was a monster heel,
Lex
maybe
was never ever even in the
Hogan conversation,
the same ballpark as Hulk Hogan.
Right.
But again, I think, was Lex not a heel at the time?
No, he was a baby face against a heel Ric Flair.
Okay.
That's my point, is to bring him in, what would you do with him? Like if you're not going to try to make him your next Hulk Hogan, because you have the real Hulk Hogan, what is there to do?
Not much.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is something to do if you want to look like Lex Luger or Hulk Hogan. I'm talking about Titan Nutrition. Fellas, this is one product you're going to be thanking us for once you try it. The product is called Test Launch, and true to its name, it'll take your body's natural testosterone production and shoot it sky high. Now, how does it work? Well, this isn't one of those single ingredient infomercials you hear about on TV. Test Launch was created with the extreme needs of a bodybuilder who want to maximize size, strength, and recovery. But the great news is any man who wants to experience these benefits can take this product. To meet these needs, Titan Nutrition formulated a product with 5 of the most proven testosterone boosting ingredients available in the market today. All of the ingredients are fully dosed and plainly disclosed on the label, so you know exactly what you're taking, and trust us, you'll know it's working. Remember working out and waking up with little to no soreness? Remember having the drive to push for those extra reps in the gym? Feeling like you could go a few extra rounds in the bedroom? Well, Test Launch will have you feeling like you're 18 again. Experience the drive of elevated testosterone levels and save 10% off Test Launch by going to titannutrition.net and using the code WRESTLE at checkout. Again, you'll get 10% off and free shipping on Test Launch when you go to titannutrition.net and use the promo code WRESTLE at checkout. You'll be glad you did. So,
But you got to remember to use that promo code WRESTLE.
Oh, absolutely. You got to use WRESTLE at titannutrition.net. Get that hookup, baby.
You know what? When we're doing ads like that and everything, Dave Silva sends something into my headset that just sounds like sounds like Kamala and Andre the Giant having a conversation in my ear. But we're not going to bust on Dave Silva today because he's just incompetent. Go ahead.
Sounded good to me. And
yeah, well, that's because you're there.
I'm there. We're not in the same location.
He's right behind you.
Oh, he's back there.
Yes.
So let's talk about the women's division. We're going to reactivate the women's division in 1987, a few months after you get there. Did you have any input on the women's division and whether it was alive or dormant or what have you? I mean, it's interesting. We see Rockin' Robin come in 87 as well. She's the real life sister of Sam Houston and Jake Roberts. I guess she's the sister-in-law then of Baby Doll. What do you remember about Robin coming in and just this women's division here in 87?
Wow. Well, originally the idea was to build it around Sherry.
Okay.
Sensational Sherry had come in. We had our Moolah versus Sherry match where Moolah anointed Sherry and dropped the championship to Sherry. But then we needed, who was that baby face? Certainly wasn't going to be Moolah. And Sherry, as much as we thought, well, maybe she could be a baby face, Sherry was not a baby face. One of the greatest performers, and I mean all-round performers ever in the business, Sherry Martel. She just wasn't a good baby face, man. She had that disdain for people that came through and gone way too soon. But yeah, Sherry came in, beat Moolah, and then we were looking for who is that we can program Sherry with, and looking at some of the women talent that were available, and it was just slim pickings. There wasn't a whole lot of talent out there. Robin was someone, she was still pretty green, but she had worked a little bit. Let's give this a try. Let's try it with somebody new and have a program with Sherry and Robin, and then take it from there.
Well, it worked out. I'm curious though, are Sam Houston and Jake Roberts part of the decision? I mean, they're both with your company here. Are they part of the reason that you're going to bring Robin in, or how does that come to be?
No, not to me. I think more than anybody was Grizzly.
Okay.
Who had mentioned, hey, Robin, here's talent, and she's a fiery baby face, and maybe she could work in this situation.
As a reminder, the women's title in the WWF throughout the 80s, at least on TV and pay-per-view, was spotty at best. After Wendy Richter wins the title from Fabulous Moolah in 85, Moolah wins it back as the Spider Lady a few months later. I guess that was the original quote-unquote screw job, was it not? For the WWF?
That depends on who you talk to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that, Bruno will tell you he got screwed by Koloff. Dory Funk will tell you he got screwed by Harley. There's a lot of them that, probably have that claim. if you will.
Velvet McIntyre wins the belt from Moolah in July of 86, only has it a few days before Moolah wins it back. And then in July of 87, at a house show in Houston, Moolah drops it to Sensational Sherry, who's going to hold it until October of 88, which is about when we're talking about here. And Rockin' Robin is going to win it over in Paris, France. Let's talk about Harley Race as we're talking about talent moving and shaking. This is the era where we don't really acknowledge other promotions. So we can't really acknowledge on our program that Harley Race is a legend from his NWA days. So when he comes in 86, we have him win a tournament to be crowned king of the WWF and pair him with Bobby Heenan. And of course he had that big feud with JYD at WrestleMania 3. And that's a pretty big, unique spot at the time, to have him as a former NWA champion working sort of the middle. But then, man, he gets a big match against Hulk Hogan at Saturday night's main event. And that was a pretty legendary injury. I think it might be the first table spot in WWE history. He's supposed to dive off of the apron onto Hogan, who's laid out across the table. Hogan moves, and this is not a table like we would use these days, to say the least. And Harley's hurting for certain. He's going to be out with a hernia surgery. Do you remember hearing about that brutal hernia surgery or injury that he suffered in this table match with Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, I do. There was, for the Coliseum video collectors out there, there was a best of WWF tape that came out. It's, again, one of those things at right place, right time. And there was a guy by the name of Steve Hecht, and Steve was the producer, and Steve would put all these tapes together for Coliseum video. Steve didn't know the wrestling business. Steve was literally a salesman for Coliseum video, but they made him the producer of these tapes to put them together because I think he was also a fan. But Steve was all about the money. Steve was just about, more is more. They had a Hulk Hogan, might have been best of Hulk Hogan or something, but it was Hulk Hogan versus Harley Race from, I think, Boston Garden, whatever. One of them was first, Boston Garden or Madison Square Garden, but they show the match. And then they have the return in the other venue. So let's call it Boston Garden first, and then they have the return in Madison Square Garden. Exactly the same match.
Wow.
Back to back on videotape.
Oh, yeah.
To live in infamy. So I see this, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Did you even watch what you put on? And he's like, oh, well, they're different places, different matches. So, but if you watched it, you would see different places, same match.
Right.
And I mean, same. You could have, by that time, Harley was kind of in his groove. Harley's going to do the same thing. Hulk was going to do the same thing. And that's how I inherited Coliseum video. But the injury was something, it was a spot that Harley had wanted to do and injured himself. Now you got to think about how bad Harley Race was injured here, because Harley was one of those guys that you damn near have to run him over with a semi truck for him to show up late, much less, or have his son's wrestling match. He won't show up at all. But, Harley was a tough guy. He was not one to take time out for ingrown hair or anything like that.
Well, let's talk about Harley for a minute here. The reason we're bringing him up is because he's going to leave the company shortly after the Royal Rumble in 1989. And he would say in an interview afterwards, time and stuff was starting to catch up with me. Started wrestling when I was 15 years old, and back when I was world champion, I was wrestling 7 nights a week. I would have a complete week off every 4 weeks. With Vince, there was no time period off, just every day. Working for Vince was pretty tough because he was in the process of trying to take wrestling over on a worldwide basis. What do you remember about the end of Harley Race here in the WWF?
Pretty much his words say it. I think Harley was tired. Harley was tired and Harley was beaten up. It's time to go. There was a period in there just that Harley busted his ass, and I'll never forget another one. You look at things that happen in your career and why they happen, and if they didn't happen, would you have ever been able to go as far as you did? And there was a gentleman that Vince had brought in that was going to be, what was he? Supervising producer or executive producer or something. It was a big title, and came in, super nice guy. Great guy, actually. Chris Carmody was his name. He was great in the sports world, man. He was great out there in the real world. In our world, not so much, because Chris didn't understand the nuances of what we did as far as promoting and as far as having guys work around things. And Chris had heard that Harley had this injury. So went in, and at that time we did customized tapes for every single market. So Huntsville, Alabama would have a customized tape go to your station in Huntsville, Alabama. Completely different tape that would go to Los Angeles. Completely different tape that would go to Denver, Colorado. Completely different tape that went to Dallas, Texas. And they were all customized for the individual markets, for whatever matches that they had coming to their market. And Chris looked at these and saw that Harley Race was literally on the second from the bottom, like the second match on the card. And Chris took it upon himself to pull all of the customized tapes and send all those markets a generic show. Now, Harley was not going in for his surgery yet. Harley still had planned on working.
Oh my.
Around this, and Harley had still, like, oh no, I'll do the surgery here and I'll schedule it, but I'll still work up until then. And so Harley was still on those tapes. But when I say he was on the tapes, it's like it's a horrible way, because Harley Race was an incredible draw and an incredible man in general. But it was kind of like Hulk Hogan versus Kamala, Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat, blah, 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 all the top stars. And Harley Race will be in action too.
Right.
And he took them all. And we had to get all of the customized tapes, get a couple of Lear jets.
Oh, no.
Put a few people on them, and go from market to market to market to market to make sure that all those markets take back the generic tape, so that they couldn't screw up and run that by mistake.
Yeah.
Take that one back and give them a customized tape so that they had the correct information for the market specific.
Was that the end of him?
That's what I remember about it.
Was that the end of him in the WWF?
It was, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it was, again, man, unlike some people that have been in that position, Chris was a super great guy.
Well, somebody else who we think a lot of here on this program is Haku. And after Harley comes back from that hernia surgery, he makes a brief little baby face comeback, feuding with Haku, who at this point is the new king, and Bobby the Brain Heenan. I bring this up because around this same time, Haku is going to be found guilty on 2 of 3 charges in connection with biting the nose off of a dude in a bar fight. We've heard about this story a lot. It's a legendary wrestling story. You were around when all this was going down. What do you remember hearing of this crazy story that I hope is never replicated in wrestling again?
Well, I think the guy tried to bite Haku first.
Okay.
So it's just like my puppy that I have in there right now. She bites me, I bite her. She doesn't like it. So she stops biting me.
You're biting dogs over there, bro?
Yeah, if I have to, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. She got a little puppy teeth, and she like latch on and everything. And then, so I'll go, okay, you sure you want to do that? I'll grab her little paw and bite it. And then she goes, I said, you didn't like it, did you? Well, see, I didn't like you biting my hand, so I bit your paw. And she says, well, what if I don't bite your hand? I said, then I won't bite your paw.
Wait, the dog said, what if I don't bite your hand?
Yeah. I can't help it if your dogs don't talk, man.
You gotta get some more rest up there. Outlaw Ron Bass. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about him here on the show.
Dogs before.
he's going to wrap up here in 89. After the Rumble, I guess he's got about 2 months later before he's out of here. Any fun Ron Bass stories you can share?
Man, again, another just legendary. This was during a time where some of the guys, I'll call them journeymen, like Ron Bass, man. Ron, I love traveling with Ron. I love being around Ron because he always made you laugh, and he was just one of those really nice human beings. Took care of people, just wasn't an asshole. He was a good guy. But one night, Ron couldn't get a promo. Couldn't get a promo to save his life. Ron could, but if you gave Ron specifics to hit, sometimes he didn't. I don't know, man. I think he just got psyched out up there. And with the beefcake thing, I had to do five Brother Love shows with Ron in one night. And on the last one, I finally went out and just cut the promo for Ron. And basically, isn't that right, Brother Cowboy?
Oh, I got you.
He just laughed.
I got you.
But again, you go back and watch some of his stuff in Florida and even the Carolinas. Man, Ron could cut a promo. Ron cut a good promo. Hardworking guy, but I think he just got psyched out up here.
Big John Studd, a mainstay of the WWF through the 70s and early 80s. He would even feud with Andre the Giant. And I guess it reached a peak at the first WrestleMania, that whole $15,000 body slam challenge match. At the time, Studd is the heel. Andre is the babyface. Studd's going to retire in 88 after teaming with King Kong Bundy for some of the time as part of the Heenan family. What do you think led to the decision for Big John Studd to retire?
I think he realized that when you retire, you don't get paid.
Oh.
It wasn't like he was 65 and was going to go collect Social Security.
Wait, hang on. No, I'm asking, why did he retire?
I thought you asked why he came back.
Oh yeah. I'm asking, why did he think he needed to retire?
Just done.
He was burnt out, or his body was beat up, or both?
Yeah. I think he was just done. I think he was just burnt out and wanting to get off the road. And man, it was a different business then. You worked every day.
Right.
And those days off were few and far between, but you wanted to work every day. The more you worked, the more you made. The more you made, the more you worked. Let's
talk about December of 88. After he retires, our pal Big John Studd comes back, and he's on the Brother Love show as a surprise guest. And Brother Love says that Studd's success was only because he was managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan, and then he welcomes the Brain to the set. Studd wants nothing to do with him, calls Heenan a weasel, and Studd announces he's no longer a part of the Heenan family. So I like you when you said, you sort of gave us the answer before we got there in terms of, he realized when you retire, you don't get paid. What do you remember about working with Big John Studd? Was this somebody that Vince was still enamored with? We've always heard that Vince was always interested in the attractions and these larger than life characters and guys who could pass the airport test. Studd checked a lot of those boxes.
Sure did. And I, look, I knew John Studd from his days in Texas, in Dallas. So in the mid 70s, I first met Studd. We would drive John to the airport and talk to him about everything under the sun. Knew his wife to be at the time, his fiance would become his wife. And, but John was, this just really, I don't know, man. I don't know if John really belonged in the business. He did because he was a giant and, looked like he belonged in the business, but I don't think John truly loved and or enjoyed the business per se. So, coming back, John had presented himself as, oh my God, I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm deadlifting 1,000 pounds and what have you. And so I'm shooting vignettes with John. And he, as I've told you before, like superstar Billy Graham, brother of the arms, 42 inches and all that good shit. guys will exaggerate over the phone. You didn't have internet. You didn't have FaceTime. Well, hey, man, just jump on FaceTime. Let me see how you look right now. We didn't have that.
Right.
If you took a picture, you had to send it off to go get developed. You'd get it in a week or two. All right, kids? That's what we did back in the day. You didn't have a phone, take a picture, and send it to somebody else. And if you took a picture of your junk and you sent it to go get it developed, they would turn you in. All right? So don't do that. Shit stays with you forever. And this is advice to just people out there in general. Why are you taking pictures of your junk and sending it out on the wide world of web internet? Damn you, clouds! And so anyway,
if you've ever wanted to see an old man yell at a cloud, there you go. We made it happen.
So Stud, you know, I was talking about how, God, he's lifting more than he ever had. He's in great shape, and we could do all these events. It's like, oh my God, we do all these strongman vignettes. He's deadlifting 1,000 pounds. You know, we could put some gimmick weights on there, make it look like, 1,500 pounds, whatever. I get John to the gym.
Uh-oh.
I got my crew there. Got everything. I probably have, I don't know, 450 pounds.
Okay.
On the deadlift, but it looks like it's about 1,200 pounds.
How does it look like it's about 1,200 pounds, Bruce?
Well, because there's a lot of other weight on there.
There's gimmicks on there.
There's weight.
Okay.
But it's not probably as accurate as it says.
I got you.
So John can't do it.
He can't do the 450.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, which is okay. See, this is going to take us to a story later on in this podcast.
Okay.
But John couldn't do it. I'm like, son of a bitch, man. I was okay. Let's try something else. And everything that we did, man, it was to say that he exaggerated a little bit would be an understatement. But I know how to shoot shit, and I know how to make things look better than they are.
Right.
And he looked like $1 million coming back. And that was Vince saying, oh, God damn it. Made him look great. I said, yeah, I get that. But whatever.
You weren't sold on him.
I wasn't sold on John as a babyface.
Okay.
Because there was something about John that people just liked to not like. Now, the human being, great guy, loved the business. No, he was really a great guy, but John didn't really care about the business that much, man. He was in it to make a living and take care of his family and get out as soon as he could.
What's the old Mr. Perfect? Get in, get over, get out. That's what he was looking to do.
There you go. Then there's Randy Savage. Save your money. It's not what you make, it's what you save. Uh-huh. Yeah. Dig it? Gonna give you some advice. T-bills. Bonds. The government will never go broke. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
tell everybody they'll all be doing it. That's an honest to God fucking conversation I had with Randy on an airplane one time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Don't tell it.
In my face. T-bills. Uh-huh. The government will never go broke. Yeah. Don't tell everybody. They'll all be doing it. So y'all don't tell nobody. All right. I don't think I have one T-bill in my portfolio. Whatever.
No. Let's talk about Stud and then we'll move on. At this point in January of '89, what was the plan with Andre? I ask because you're talking about maybe bringing him back as a babyface and talking about Stud, of course. And when he comes back, he's programmed with Akeem and Big Boss Man. But at this point, Stud's most famous opponent is Andre the Giant. Well, that brings me to Andre. We're still a little bit away from, the end of Andre, but we're not quite at the height of Andre physically. He's probably starting to hurt a little bit here. What can you tell us about what the plan was? We'll call it January 89 with Andre.
Oh, plan was to get back to studding Andre.
Okay.
Yeah, and we did. And John left again.
Yeah.
He could not take it. Andre just beat the shit out of him every night.
You know, we've talked about that a little bit before, but the gist was Andre was, he was territorial about being the only quote unquote giant. Is that fair to say?
He didn't like John.
But why though? Just his mere presence?
Just his mere presence.
Okay.
I think that's pretty accurate. You know, it's funny. Somebody said something about, you know, Taker and Andre, and they go, oh, Andre wasn't even there when Taker was there. Yeah, he was. He sure as hell was.
Yeah.
But those are the experts that people call experts.
Who's saying that?
I don't know. Somebody said it recently.
Well, let's talk about the Ultimate Warrior. He's going to win the Intercontinental title from Honky Tonk Man at SummerSlam 88. Takes him all of 31 seconds. Rude becomes the number one contender. They had a memorable feud, Rude did, with Jake the Snake. But now it's all about Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior to set the tone for the feud that they're going to have maybe for the next couple of years or so. They're going to compete in a pose down instead of a match. This is an interesting way to introduce a feud. Again, this is the era where we're doing bodybuilding competitions and we're doing weightlifting competitions and we're doing arm wrestling competitions. But I'm sure from your standpoint, you know, if you really want to get a longer segment out of it, maybe it's better not to have Warrior wrestle. Let's go do a pose down. Is that the thinking?
Yeah, we didn't know that he could really get blown up doing a pose down.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we were hoping he wouldn't.
You've talked about when we talked about Warrior's run in 90, that Rude was maybe the perfect guy to work with Warrior. Why was he the perfect guy here? Like, you're trying to build the Warrior character, and every great baby face needs a heel, and you've got to have that antagonist. What was it about them that just clicked that you could recognize here in 89?
Well, because you could give Rick Rude a tackling dummy and Rick could make it look competitive. And wasn't, you know, shy about putting the tackling dummy over if he needed to.
Right.
He had those skills. So for Warrior to get to where Warrior needed to go, it needed to be with people that were willing to work with him and get him to that point. Not everybody wanted to work with Ultimate Warrior, believe it or not.
Well, I know who everybody wants to work with. And that's the Backyard Butchers. I got to tell you,
Love 'em.
You and I have had a few different meat sponsors here on our program, but I think we found the right partner for us, man. Backyardbutchers.com. If you haven't already, I want to encourage you to go check it out. This is quality steak with free shipping. And this is restaurant quality steak, y'all. But the reality is you get bulk meat specials that are reasonably and responsibly sourced from American farms, delivered right to your door. And man, they got a special offer for you right now. Not only do you get 15% off, but you'll get free shipping, and you'll even get 4 free ribeyes for life with every subscription. Imagine opening up a high quality box of steak and recreate that steakhouse experience right in your backyard at less than grocery store prices. That's exactly what you'll get when you order from Backyard Butchers. And I got to tell you, Bruce, when we first got our boxes, man, I didn't believe it. The idea that we were going to get restaurant quality meat and it was somehow cheaper than the grocery store, it seemed too good to be true. But it's the real deal, man. I've had my fair share of ribeyes from these folks. It is a favorite here at the house. My wife knows when I start firing up the grill, Backyard Butchers are right around the corner. And by the way, they don't just have steak. They got your pork and your chicken. Whatever you're looking for, they got it. And the best part again is it's all on a budget, baby. You cut out the middleman grocery stores, you're still getting meat from the heartland of America. It's 100% American beef, pork, and chicken. And by the way, it's going to show up to your door in an eco-friendly insulated box. They're going to guarantee that your meat shows up at the perfect temperature. It's fresh, it's safely packaged, it's delivered to your front door. How do you beat it? I can't recommend it enough. And by the way, this is not a gimmick. Let me just tell you, There's no memberships. There's no subscriptions necessary. But you can choose to subscribe. But if you do, you can cancel anytime. I'm telling you, once you try them one time, you'll want to subscribe because you're going to reorder based on the taste, based on the quality, and based on the price. I just can't stress this enough. It's cheaper than the doggone grocery store, y'all. For a limited time, one more time, they got 15% off and free shipping and 4 free ribeyes for life with every subscription. Think about that. 4 free premium restaurant quality juicy ribeyes delivered to your door when you go to backyardbutchers.com. So right now, go to backyardbutchers.com, click on the online shop, and then order. Remember now, no subscriptions or memberships are necessary. So what are you waiting for? They got the steak, they got the pork, they got the chicken, and you can get 15% off and free shipping and 4 free ribeyes for life when you use our promo code WRESTLE at backyardbutchers.com. It's the real deal, is it not, Bruce?
What was the first thing that I did when I got mine?
Fired up those ribeyes, baby.
And I called you and I said, dude, have you tried this yet? And you said, no, I just got my box and we're going to be cooking them up tonight. And I said, well, I don't know why it's taking you so long because I got my box today and we cooked ours up tonight, but my night was
an hour ahead of mine
because you're in a different time zone.
Yes.
But yes, folks, this meat is excellent. You can't beat their meat.
You can't beat their meat, folks.
Nope.
You can try to beat their meat, but you won't be able to beat their meat.
No, you can't beat their meat, Conrad.
I've tried, and I just can't beat the meat.
I've eaten their meat.
And you can't beat their meat, but you can eat their meat. It's backyardbutchers.com. Use that promo code WRESTLE. We are a couple of 12-year-olds. All right, so a few days after the Rumble, we see the Mega Powers fall apart on the main event. It all happens during a match with the Twin Towers. We've talked about this before. The whole "you got lust in your eyes" line. This is an all-time.
You got lust in your eyes. I can see it right there. Yeah. You lust in your eye.
What's fun about this is it happens just a few days after this Royal Rumble. So at this Rumble, you guys know where you're going. Who is more excited about this storyline? You, Vince, Savage, or Hogan? Because this is an all-timer.
Well, I tell you what, it was fun. And once we got into it, we were able to lay out moments that we knew we could call back to when it comes to WrestleMania time. We looked at opportunities to go, hey, what about this? You remember when Randy had Liz up on his shoulder and she started to teeter and Hulk steadied her? Was he steadying her or was he grabbing her ass?
Oh.
Because you look in his eye. Him lust in his eye. Yeah. So it was fun, man. I think everybody was into it. It's crazy at this time and in the business. I think Vince was a little more serious and analytical about everything than I don't know. Everything had to be just so, and it was. I mean, it was. We did those vignettes telling that story, and when you realized that for 1 year you told that story, it was amazing. All the little pieces that came together, and you go, "Oh my God, I didn't catch that! Holy cow! Look at Hogan, man, he's grabbing her ass," or look at the way he's looking at her, or where was he for Randy? That type of thing, and it was masterful storytelling, in my opinion.
Just great stuff. One of the all-time great storylines. I think everybody can agree on that. Let's talk about Houston. This is going to be your first WWF pay-per-view in Texas since you joined the company back in '87. What was it like being back in Houston for the first time on a big WWF stage? Not quote unquote just a house show or quote unquote just a TV taping, but a big old show like this. I mean, this is a pay-per-view.
Yeah, it was monumental. It wasn't New York, LA, or Chicago.
Right.
It was Houston and my home. So for me, I thought it was a pretty damn big deal. And was looking forward to that, being home, being around everybody, being able to say, yeah, that Royal Rumble Royal is ours. But yeah.
What was your
Good
relationship like with the Bosch family at this point? Just to add some context, they had been closed up almost 2 years, I think, at this point. And, you're here after you left Bosch, you jumped to Vince, and I know there was some hurt feelings, but we're a couple years removed from that now. What was your relationship like in '89?
Didn't really have one. I mean, Paul passed in March that year.
Just a couple months after this show. Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of went downhill from there for a little while, but after that, in the summer of '89, I began speaking with his widow again, and we kind of, worked everything out. She didn't realize all the things that had actually taken place and or not taken place. Paul didn't discuss business with his wife at all. She knew nothing of the business.
I know we've talked about it before, but I just want to briefly discuss and bring up, I think everybody listening to this knows that you sort of grew up working in Bosch's territory, and he was your first quote unquote wrestling mentor before you started working with Vince.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
Correct. Do you think that boy just said a different way, it hurt Paul's feelings?
What?
That you left?
For me to leave?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I think that Paul felt betrayed and his feelings were hurt. Paul didn't know. So Paul didn't know what I was going through on the other side. Paul didn't know the promises that had been made to me by other people in the promotion and things of that nature that just weren't coming to fruition. And it wasn't like, hey, I'm promising you to be the champion or anything like that. But when I looked at it, there was no path to
grow
anything other than sitting in that office in 1919 Carolina on the corner of Pierce and downtown Houston, open each day of the week, Monday through Friday from 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. Now, tickets and information were available during that time. That was it. And I saw an opportunity. I wanted more. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to do TV. I wanted to be involved in the stories. I wanted just to do so much more than what I was doing. And as long as Paul was there and his nephew, I knew that I was not going to be able to do it in Houston, put it that way. That it was no longer set up to do that. I had an opportunity with Watts. Watts sold Crockett. Look, man, they made me an offer, but I didn't particularly care for Jim Crockett and didn't want to do that. So I packed up everything, completely blind, didn't know anybody in the Northeast, and moved because I wanted to do this. I wanted to be involved. And if you're going to be involved, don't you want to be involved with the best?
Yes.
So for Paul, I think Paul was hurt. Man, I made the cover of WWF magazine. That was a huge deal for me.
Yes.
Again, I'm like, I'm a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm on the cover of a magazine that you see literally all over the world.
Yes.
And there's my face. And I sent Paul a note and a magazine. He opened it and then taped it shut and crossed out his address and put return to sender. Sent it back to me. I still have that.
You still have that envelope?
Yeah. And it just ate me up inside. It killed me. It really hurt me. But
you wanted him to be proud of you.
I did.
Yeah.
I was thinking after, I've been gone at that point. It was a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was. And I thought, can we get over this? I was hoping that by that time he would have realized kind of the things that I had been through and what I was going through. And he just never saw that side of it.
That's a shame.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a sad deal.
So this is really the last time that the WWF is going to be in town before he passes away. And I know that he had a brief relationship with Vince. Of course, they did some joint shows together, and we've talked about that before here on the archives. No chance he's at this event, though, right?
No. We did extend an invitation, but he never answered, yay, nay. Did an RSVP. Is what it is.
The show takes place at the Houston Summit, now the home of Lakewood Church's Central Campus. Is Houston Summit the go-to building for the WWF in this market in that era?
It was a major arena in the market run by Mike McGee and Jeff Gaines. Shout out to Mike, SMG Management, and dear friend of mine, but and Jeff Gaines, who started with Ticketmaster, who then became the manager of the Summit and now Reliant Stadium and all that. But just great guys, taught me an awful lot about the business end of arenas and what have you. But yeah, Summit was, you had the Sam Houston Coliseum downtown, which is old and pretty much run down. You had the Astro Arena, which was a small arena adjacent to the Astrodome that they would use for horse shows and things when the rodeo was in town, and then other small arenas, probably held about 6,000. Then you had the Summit. The Summit was the big arena. It held, 14, 15,000, something like that.
So the Rumble 89 begins a string of Rumbles held in Texas over the years. It was held there again at Houston at Minute Maid Park in 2020, the AT&T Center in San Antonio in 2007, and of course the Alamo Dome now at least 3 times, 97, 2017, and of course this year. What is it about Texas and the Royal Rumble that just go so well together, do you think?
Well, if you're going to have a Rumble, you got to have one in Texas. By God, Texas people like to rumble. By God, it's just you got to fight. And every 2 minutes, somebody else joins the fight. And so it just becomes going until there's just one guy standing. That's, I think Texans understand that.
Texas does understand that.
Yes.
There's several guys on this card that came through Houston on their way to the WWF. Andre the Giant, Barry Darsow, Greg Valentine, Jim Duggan, Jake Roberts, Shawn Michaels. It's amazing what a small world wrestling is at times, is it not?
And gets smaller every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny, if there was ever a lesson to be learned, you can take it from the business, and you're going to see the same people on the way up that you see on the way down. So it's always good to take that into consideration.
Of course, the Royal Rumble, the one they call the inaugural event is Copps Coliseum, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, in January of '88. I guess they tried one in '87 too, as like a house show type thing.
Yeah.
But that one in '88 is on the USA Network. I think this is the first one on pay-per-view. What did you learn from the first Royal Rumble that was on USA, which we sort of talked about a little bit last week briefly, that you tried to apply to this show? And then of course the difference being one is on television and has commercial breaks. This one is not. We sort of talked about that a little bit last week, but was there anything else you learned from a television standpoint, of just a production standpoint, between that 88 and 89 Rumble?
Just timing more than anything. What I mean by that is the timing of when people come in and when people go out, and making sure that if something as big is going to happen, that 3 people aren't doing something else over here to distract from that. Just more than anything, probably the timing of it and looking for the moments. That more so developed over time when we would put things in the Rumble that became moments. So then you start, okay, well, that was that turned out a lot better than we thought it would, and people really dug that. Now you try to create those moments. So it was a learning experience, and we were still learning, trust me, with the Rumble.
Talk to me about the decision to go from 20 to 30. That USA Network special back in 88, that had 20 guys. This Rumble that we're covering today, 89, has 30 guys. How does that change come to be?
Everything's bigger in Texas.
Oh, goodness gracious. Listen to you.
Good God. Well, it is. I think that was just a kind of the magical number. It was, 20 was too short, 50 was too long.
The match itself is a masterwork in storytelling in a single match. You've got all these different storylines intersecting. You have to keep them going. So why not use this match as a way to further those storylines? Talk us through how you would structure a Rumble. Is this something that you and Pat and Vince would all work out together, or what's the process?
Well, at this point in time, it was mainly, Pat and Vince that would kind of lay everything out. And then I would go through it with a television eye and kind of look at things. Only later, when I came back in 90s, the Rumble was something that Pat was very passionate about, and I loved working on the Rumble with Pat. So the match itself, we would sit there and we would write and just try to come up with the stories that you have, how they're represented, and then create new stories out of things that could happen in the Royal Rumble match itself. So once you have all of that laid out, then you just kind of put it together. It's like timing to me. Timing is not something, and laying out a Royal Rumble is not something that you can just, go write me a Royal Rumble. It's not that easy.
Right.
To do it correctly. And it's a feel versus this is how you do it. I tell you how to do a scoop slam to a fucking body slam. I can tell you how to do that. I can't tell you how, when I look at a show and there's a feel for it, why I assign certain times to certain things. Why, I can tell you what I want at the top of the hour, but I can't tell you how I'm getting there all the time. I can't explain it. It's just a feel. And it's the same thing with a Rumble match. It's a feel that you have to, you either do or you don't. Some people don't get it.
One of the other things that evolved with the Rumble over the years is during these early Rumbles, guys would come into the ring without music, except for the first two participants. What was the thinking at the time? You didn't want to take away from the in-ring action?
Again, it was all new. It was just something that was brand new. That's the way that we did it. The guy runs in, you don't stop it down for music. And then as time went on and it evolved, like, well, let's try it with their entrance music. I think it worked a lot better, a lot more exciting. Everybody knew who the hell was coming down. And the countdown clock, too, was another big deal. To be able to put the countdown clock on the screen so people know and they can count 10, 9, 8, 7, It's crowd participation. Everybody's looking back there at 2 minutes. And they know something's going to happen. Who's it going to be? And that's part of the intrigue of the Rumble. Who's it going to be? Who's next?
Well, let's talk about the show. It draws a sellout. It has to feel good to be back in Houston and it be a big pay-per-view and be sold out. There's one dark match, Jim Powers and Barry Horowitz. Jim gets the win. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about Barry Horowitz here on the show. Any good stories about Barry?
Man, Barry almost got us kicked out of the Travel Lodge in Dallas. Great guy, Barry Horowitz. Funny as shit. Actually, managed Barry. I almost married Banage. I managed Barry in the GWF in Dallas for a little while. And oh my God, we had fun because he's just so damn funny and talented son of a bitch too. But Barry's cheap. Very cheap. And Barry used to bring his gallon jugs of water and go in to the front office there the reception of the hotel, where they had a big water cooler.
Yes.
Ozarka water cooler. And Barry would fill up his water jugs and basically bleed them dry with however many jugs he had. And then he would talk about, oh, hey, they got the same water that's in these jugs. It's free. This jug costs like almost $1.50 at the store. Like, but Barry, man, you're... And they got to the point where they took the water coolers out. They told Eddie Gilbert, they go, hey, man, your guy, comes in here and drains our water. It's like, no more.
I don't know why that's funny.
I think they thought I was his real manager, too. They were talking to me like, the guy you manage him.
There's another journeyman, another enhancement talent that's synonymous with the WWF, and another dark match here. Sam Houston is going to go ahead and get a win over Steve Lombardi. We recently talked about Steve Lombardi as Abe Knuckleball Schwartz in our Worst Gimmicks episode. But here in January of 89, he's not even quite yet the Brooklyn Brawler. He's still regular old Steve Lombardi. Any good Lombardi stories you can share with us? Because he's a character and a half too, is he not?
No. He, where the hell were we? I'm trying to think. It was in middle America. It was like in probably one of the South or North Dakota. I don't know. Somewhere there. And he became the Brooklyn Brawler. So he's got all this stuff, his jeans and everything. Bobby's like, you're not dirty enough. You need to get some dirt on you and just, rough things up, tear your shirt, look all clean. Brooklyn Brawler with a nice clean white shirt, clean jeans on it. So Bobby made him crawl through the duct system and on top of in the boiler room, where all the engines and just grease and grime and filth and dirt all over the place. And Bobby had him crawl up along there to get dirty and have him roll in it and get dirty. And so now keep it like that. Now you look like a brawler. And somewhere in there, while Steve is doing this, and Steve would be blamed for practical jokes. But remember when Bad News Brown had the rats, the sewer rats?
Yes.
Well, we actually had real rats. Okay.
What were their names?
Well, there was anyway.
George. That's a different era.
Yeah, dude. Nice. So someone let the rats out.
Who let the rats out? Who let the rats out? No. It's a shirt available now over at boxofgimmicks.com.
Yeah. And so the building personnel swore, and they it was like $3,000 in exterminating bills to get the rats out, kill the rats.
Wow.
After we left the building. And they swore that it was Brawler because they saw him crawling around up there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now, legend has it that it actually wasn't Brawler, that it was Marty Jannetty.
That Jannetty let the rats out.
Yeah. And it makes more sense that it was Jannetty, but at the same time, it was blamed on Brawler. And so, since they had an eyewitness, they had to go with that.
Well, old Jannetty, he was trouble with them rats. We know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had a lot of experience with rats, so you had to let him in, you had to let him out.
Might even say he was like the rat whisperer, Oh. Match number 1 here on the Royal Rumble. We're finally at the show here. It's the Hart Foundation teaming up with Hacksaw Jim Duggan to take on the Fabulous Rougeaus and Dino Bravo. Frenchie Martin's in their corner. It's 2 out of 3 falls in something called International Rules. Joey Marella is our referee. This is originally billed as a flag match, but we're going to change it to international rules. I assume it's changed because Brett's Canadian and it wouldn't make sense for him to have an American flag, or talk me through that.
Well, hell no. It's like, of course it makes no sense. Brett's Canadian. Then you got them Quebecois on the other side with that flowered Deloise or whatever it is. I cannot say that word.
The Fleur-de-Lis?
Yeah.
Flower Deloise. Okay.
Yeah.
I actually look like Dom
Dom's
DeLuise.
brother.
Yeah. I've been told I look like Dom DeLuise.
You do.
Yeah. Big old
You
fat
like
guy,
Dom
dark hair and
DeLuise
green.
and One Man Gang had a
love child, and here I am. Hey, talk to me about why this is 2 out of 3 falls. Normally in these days, when you see 2 out of 3 falls, it's with a certain type of performer. As a reminder, Dino Bravo and Hacksaw Jim Duggan are in this match, and I don't think anybody would ever say, man, you reckon we could get them to do a 2 out of 3 falls?
Goddamn right. That's why they had it.
Is this really because we're trying to fill time on a pay-per-view?
Didn't need to fill time. Unfortunately, I think sometimes that was often one of the reasons to do things. Then you get there and go, oh my God, we have way too much show.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man, you got your workhorses, Dino and Duggan. They'll do 6 out of 9 falls if you need them to.
Let's talk about Dino for a minute. This is about a year after he starts dyeing his hair blonde and he starts playing up his Quebec heritage. He's going to gain Frenchie as a manager. Prior to that, he had been managed by luscious Johnny V and worked as a part of the New Dream Team with Greg Valentine after Beefcake turned face after WrestleMania 3. Did you have a preference, like, of all the different versions of Dino Bravo, which was your favorite?
Qu'est-ce que c'est? The Frenchie Martin, we got the Dino Bravo, and then the Pêche, you get that fuck Dino. Frenchie Martin, man. I love Frenchie.
Yeah, I'm a big...
I just like Frenchie with Dino because it was at least Frenchie gave him some character and some charisma. Frenchie was that the mouse, in that cartoon.
Yes.
Frenchie Martin taught me how to smoke the marijuana on the plane, cross country. You go in the bathroom. Put your button. No, put your button more. Yeah, that kind of shit. Don't do that, kids.
Do not smoke marijuana on an airplane.
Do not smoke on an airplane.
This match, we see Ray Rougeau pick up the first fall over Brett. Brett's going to pin Ray back for the second fall, and Brett picks up the third fall after Duggan hit Bravo from behind with a 2x4. So Duggan's a damn dirty ass cheater, but he got away with it. In 15 minutes and 42 seconds, our baby faces are victorious. And your boy Dave Meltzer said Duggan looked terrible, so what else is new? Only because of Hart and slightly Jacques, the match was a decent way to open the show, 2.25 stars. Duggan has never been a newsletter favorite. Why do you think that is?
Because he draws money and knows how to work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you.
Maybe he's never been to the Tokyo Dome, though. Maybe that's why.
Will you stop? Next, we hear some pre-recorded commercials from participants in the Rumble match. DiBiase is going to draw a number he's unhappy with. So he calls in Slick to make a deal for one of the numbers that was drawn by the Twin Towers. For the $1 Million Man to bribe his way into another spot, that's good character work here, is it not? That's good shit, pal.
Everybody's got a price.
Especially for the $1 Million Man.
Of course. Everybody's got a price.
We also hear from Honky Tonk Man and the Bushwhackers as they're going to swap numbers. Bad News Brown, Jake Roberts is going to cut a promo on Andre, and the Rockers are going to wish one another good luck. We're trying to show that, hey, it really is every man for himself. So we're involving the tag teams. Are you producing these backstage vignettes? Will this have been something on your docket?
Yes, unfortunately, I was doing those.
What do you remember?
My good friend Bob Collins. Bob Collins was the guy rotating the tumbler.
We haven't spent any time talking about Bob Collins, as far as I know, here on the program. Any good Bob Collins
Last
stories?
of the great promoters, man.
Really?
Bob Collins brought us the WWF blimp. So many things that Bob Collins is responsible for. A true promoter's promoter.
What made him?
They don't make him like him anymore.
What made him such a good promoter?
Because he wasn't afraid to fall on his ass. He was willing to get out. He was always willing to look at something and say, how are we going to make the most noise? What are we going to get the most bang for our buck from? And it was never conventional. He would always go to the unconventional because that's what people remember. So when we're sitting there one day and he comes in and says, what about a blimp? We're like, the Goodyear blimp? No, WWF blimp. Okay. He found a blimp.
Wow.
But I mean, that kind of stuff that he did. Bob Collins, man, Bob is one of the guys behind the Lex Express. It's a different way to do it. We had talked about, George Bush doing the train tour, and the bus came up and thought this could be a pretty cool thing to do. Times Square, Wall Street, those type of things. Bob Collins promotions that Bob would take it and promote it and make it larger than it already was.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad we're
love Bob to death, man. He also played, when we did the commercials later on, I forget what it was, but he was Wink, where he would wink in the camera and kind of like.
Okay.
Right there.
If you're not watching, you got to go check us out. SomethingToWrestle.com is where you can see the video of all this foolishness that we're doing.
This is not foolishness. I'm trying to read emails while I do this.
Match number 2 is Rockin' Robin, the women's champion, taking on Judy Martin. Our old pal Earl Hebner is the referee. And Gorilla's going to point out that Robin enters the ring to Sam Houston's music. It's interesting he points that out because I don't think we've acknowledged that they're related at all. What was the hesitation to quote unquote break kayfabe? Why wouldn't you acknowledge that these folks are related?
Who cares?
You don't think it could have added to the story?
No.
Okay.
Well, yeah, no.
Alrighty. Sherry's going to interrupt at the beginning, challenging the winner, and then she joins the commentary booth. Robin's going to pick up the win with a crossbody block off the middle rope. Total time here, 6 minutes and 42 seconds. Meltzer would say both women worked hard and they did a lot of moves, but the timing was below average and there was absolutely no heat whatsoever. 1.5 stars. And we never see a payoff from this match. And I got the winner and all that because the women's championship is actually quietly deactivated just the following year in 1990. We're really having a hard time trying to find our
deactivated.
Well, I mean, we don't do anything with it. It just goes away. The women's division just evaporates and we don't see the world title anymore. We're really trying hard. We tried a few times to get some momentum going with the ladies and it just doesn't click. Why is that?
I just don't think that there was, there wasn't a big cry for it at the time, but more than anything, you didn't have the talent. You didn't have as many women that were in the business on a regular, full-time regular basis, nor did, it just wasn't something that people still had in their mind, the fabulous Moolah era more than anything. And as hard as we tried to get younger, fresher, new talent in, there wasn't a lot of young, fresh, new talent being trained.
Right.
They just weren't there. And, you didn't have a large talent pool to draw from. So something happens in one, you had Sherry and you had Robin. Nobody else was under contract. They all still wanted to do their independent stuff elsewhere. And we didn't have enough work to keep them working on a regular basis.
Next up on the program, we see a WrestleMania 5 motion graphic pop up on the screen, and it's not the sort of in-your-face, over-the-top pay-per-view advertisement we're used to seeing with some sort of signature Jim Johnston sound and some sort of fun voiceover. It's just the logo and it starts moving around, who's responsible? I mean, obviously graphics and computer technology and all that changed over the years, but who would have handled this sort of thing for you guys back then?
Graphics are us.
Lord have mercy.
What?
Graphics are us.
Yeah. Graphics are us.
Next up, we see Sean Mooney interviewing Slick.
Who do you think would do it?
I don't know who would do it. I guess Graphics RS is fine.
See, y'all have Graphics be us down in Alabama, but
yeah, it's sort of like White Castle and Crystal.
Right.
Same.
But different.
Sean Mooney's going to interview Slick in the Twin Towers about the Towers chance in the Rumble. Mooney's going to confront Slick about DiBiase's attempt to buy one of the Towers numbers. It's a neat thread throughout the show. Is this all your idea, or is this something? I know you're producing these segments, but the content of them, is that also from your brain, or is it a collective collaboration?
Collective collaboration. I have no idea. I was producing them all, but yeah, it's just what if?
I gotcha. Well, what if you tried Blue Chew? Guys, if you haven't tried Blue Chew already, what are you waiting for? They're a day one sponsor for us here on the program. And they keep coming back every month because it really works. And our listeners are experiencing better sex than ever before, all in thanks to Blue Chew. Maybe this is your first time seeing the show. Well, welcome to the show. Try Blue Chew now. Seriously, it's a unique online service that's going to deliver you the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. So you can take them anytime, day or night, or plan ahead. Be ready whenever an opportunity arises. Now, the process is simple, folks. You sign up at BlueChew.com, you consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And here's the best part. It's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made in the USA. They prepare and ship directly to your door, all in a discreet package. And if you think you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, we want you to chew it and do it. Have some better sex. By the way, this isn't just for guys who have a problem. This is for guys who want to put on a 5-star performance. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code WRESTLE at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. The promo code is WRESTLE to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Next up, we've got the Super Pose Down. Fink is going to introduce Mean Gene to MC the Super Pose Down between Ravishing Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan and the Ultimate Warrior. And Gene's going to explain that the two participants will compete in a series of poses and fans will decide the winner. I mean, listen, we all know that Vince has always had an interest in bodybuilding, and the WBF really cements that. What do you think of the idea of a pose down on pay-per-view? Not a TV.
Oh, great idea.
Okay.
Well, yeah, look, man, you got to look at history, and you've had superstars like Billy Graham and Tony Atlas. And the funny thing about it is we had several in Houston with superstar Billy Graham. You had superstar Billy Graham do a pose down with Tony Atlas. You had superstar Billy Graham do a pose down with Mil Mascaras. God, I think we even had Gino do a pose down one time with somebody. So it's not out of the ordinary when you have people with incredible physiques that like to show them off to go out and have a pose down. See who has the best body is voted on by the live audience. So Houston was very familiar with these from a wrestling standpoint, and I think people in general have done it for years. It's a great way to shoot an angle without having to have a match.
Well, we're going to have a series of poses here. Before we do, Bobby Heenan's going to get on the mic and remind the crowd, hey, it's your job to be objective here. Of course, everybody's going to cheer the Warrior and boo the heel. And Heenan asked for a 15-minute break to prep Rude for the third pose. Of course, Mean Gene says no, which is pretty fun.
It's unfair.
Warrior is obviously bigger, and he gets impatient before the fourth pose. Rude is going to call for a medley of poses, And then Heenan sprays Warrior in the eyes with body oil, and Rude's going to attack Warrior with his steel workout bar. And Heenan and Rude are off to the back. Warrior comes to, and he attacks the officials who are trying to help him, and then he runs out after Rude. And Meltzer had this to say. The highlight was when the medics came out to help the Warrior, and Dr. Nicholas Warren Bockwinkel came out. And Warrior went berserk and threw the officials around, and Nick the Doc showed better timing after taking a slap from him than 70% of the wrestlers employed by Titan Sports. As entertainment, it was too slow paced and way too predictable. As wrestling, it was a waste of time, except it saved us from something worse, and that is having to watch the Warrior in a match. As bodybuilding goes, it was a joke. Who ever heard of wearing long tights in bodybuilding? Rick's body is nothing special, and Warrior is positively freaky, -1 star. I'd call it a dud, except I know
Rude's body was nothing special?
Yeah, I don't understand that comment.
Wow. I wish I'd have an unspecial body like that. God damn.
Backstage, we get more pre-recorded interviews. This time,
And by the way, the Bockwinkel bump was one of the worst bumps I've ever seen. But that again, that solidifies the expert.
all right, before you get all high and mighty on us, you had to have fun with the idea of putting Dr. Bockwinkel out there. This is good stuff.
He wasn't Dr. Bockwinkel. He was an agent.
Okay. My point is he's checking on him. It's fun.
Yeah, because he's an agent and making sure he's so were the referees doctors too because they were checking on him?
How do you explain to a wrestling fan what an agent is? Not now, then.
We didn't. They were officials.
Okay.
WWF officials.
Backstage, we get more pre-recorded interviews, this time with the managers. We got Mr. Fuji reminding us that the powers of pain are coming for demolition. And then Mean Gene is going to grill Miss Elizabeth on whose corner will she be in, Savage or Hogan. She remains neutral, further setting up, of course, this Mega Powers explosion. And then Jimmy Hart's going to cut a promo on his better half of Double Trouble, Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine. And this is before Valentine dyes his hair black and they become Rhythm and Blues. Do you remember Double Trouble being this team's original name? I didn't know that. I didn't remember that until I watched this back.
Yeah, I think that was just something Jimmy called them. It wasn't an official name.
Copy.
Rhythm and Blues, baby. Greatest tag team of all time.
Next up, we've got King Haku taking on the former King, Harley Race. Joey Morella is the referee, and the winner gets to claim he's the real king of the WWF. The match goes 9 minutes and 1 second. Ultimately, Haku is going to get the win after he reverses or uses a reverse thrust kick. And Heenan, of course, sides with him. But this is sort of heel versus heel here. But I guess anytime that Heenan is standing across from you, well, we know for sure that you're the babyface. Bobby was never a babyface in this era. Meltzer would say,
he was in my eyes, by God.
What a great dude. Race wrestled like the ghost of Harley Race, doing all the old bumps, but so slow and pathetic and to no reaction. Haku is all wrong for the gimmick as well, but it's really just a venue for Heenan. Both tried, but zilch for heat, and I was truly saddened watching the once great Race in this position dud. So listen, it is the end of a long, successful, fantastic career, but it is clear here after the surgery that Harley's probably lost a step here, no?
Harley had lost a step a long time ago, and Harley was past his prime. Harley should have retired, a while ago. But, it's funny when you hear those comments like that from people like that make those comments. If it had been in any other place, go, oh, what a courageous performance.
Yes.
By Harley Race. And It's just so disingenuous and so just laugh out loud biased. Yeah, man, Harley had been on his last leg for quite a while. It is what it is.
It is what it is indeed. Let's talk about the way Haku comes to the ring here. It was quite a spectacle. He's going to be carried to the ring by a bunch of jacked up dudes. I think he used to call this big chair, was it the sedan? Is that what you called it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you find these guys who are going to be carrying Haku to the ring? You just go down to the local gym, or these local enhancement guys, or local workers, or?
Yeah. So I wouldn't call those guys jacked up by any stretch of the imagination. They're kind of short and dumpy.
I'd be proud to have a short and dumpy body like that.
No, you would not.
I'm just busting balls.
No. The one guy, if you're looking at it on the right to Haku's left, that he could be your daddy.
In comedy, Bruce, is called a callback. I was just doing a callback there. Next up, we see more promos.
You're calling me now?
Yes, from competitors in the Rumble. We got Bruce Beefcake, Greg Valentine, Mr. Fuji again, this time with the Powers of Pain. Maybe there's too much Fuji on this show. Mr. Perfect, Randy Savage, and the returning Big John Studd. Of course, Studd is doing a real babyface promo talking about how he's been in training for the last couple of years and he's ready for a comeback. And next up, we see the final interview with Ted DiBiase as Mean Gene grills him about the transaction with Slick. As we'll find out, DiBiase bought the number 30 slot, which is pretty awesome. And then Sean Mooney's going to interview Bobby Heenan, the Brainbusters, and what he called the odds-on favorite, Andre the Giant. Lastly, Mean Gene finally interviews Hulk Hogan, who's calling for the resurrection of Hulkamania, and he makes it clear he and Savage are not friends in the Rumble match. And we're trying to really hit home here that it's every man for himself. And I guess nothing really slams that home more than the first two in the Rumble, Axe and Smash. I think this is the only time Darso and Edie ever competed. What do you remember about that creative of, hey, what if we put a tag team in there first? That's good stuff.
You know, look, we'd only had one Royal Rumble that people had ever seen on USA Network, and now it's on pay-per-view. To be able to give an example of every man for himself, man, let's start with it. Let's start with a tag team. What if, you know, the tag team drew number 1 and 2? They'd have to go at each other. You know, we talked about, well, they don't do anything for 2 minutes. It's like, nah. Let's show that the Royal Rumble is so prestigious, man. You're going to fight your own brother if you have to win this thing, and to put a tag team in against each other, I thought was great.
It was great. Really good stuff here. From the Observer, the Meltzer would say, the 2 minutes between entrants were legit this year, unlike last year. This is really the first time we started to see Meltzer really pine about the time between, and sometimes people have called it Titan time. I even saw some criticism this past Royal Rumble just a week ago about the ladies not being exactly what they were supposed to be. Was that a priority back in the day to make sure that it was exactly on the money, or it's a story? Who cares?
It's a story.
Yeah. The Rumble build is built around how invincible guys like Andre and Hogan and Studd and Akeem and Bossman are. And Meltzer would say, all the great workers took all the great bumps, but their offense had little to no effect on the freaks. Kurt Hennig worked great with the little guys, but his offense had no effect against the big guys. Terry Taylor is still portrayed as a wimp, which I suppose in a warped person's eyes could have helped him as a heel, but kills him as a face. This is smart on Vince's behalf because he employs all the freaks and his opposition employs wrestlers. And when freaks go against wrestlers, wrestlers come off as wimps. What do you make of that statement?
Well, I think that it just, again, speaks to the ineptitude of the person writing that and, you know, what they are.
A lot of memorable moments in this show, besides Demolition squaring off. First, we've got Jake the Snake being eliminated by Andre, but he comes back with Damien to get revenge. And then, of course, Andre eliminates himself to escape the snake. That's pretty creative stuff here. Did Andre really hate snakes? This is good creative. The idea that, hey, how will we ever get the giant out? Well, if he just runs from the snake and wants to get the hell out of Dodge, that'll work.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, it's a creative way to continue to tell the story of Jake the Snake and Andre. And it's a nice way. I know like Snake.
I know like Snake.
I know like Snake.
Ron Bass comes in. He's got a freshly shaved head after losing a hair versus hair match against Brutus, and Shawn Michaels is in there showing off some impressive action with Kurt Hennig. Who would have thought what we would see from those guys in the future? Savage enters, and eventually Hogan does too, 3 people later, and he's going to clean house and even eliminates the Warlord in a record 2 seconds. Is this another idea from Vince, or is that a Pat idea of, let's have a record elimination? Let's see how fast we can get somebody out.
Well, yes. I mean, the Bushwhacker thing actually was the first time where we wanted to set the record for the fastest elimination. And, it's a fun thing, but Hulk coming in, man, Hulk's got to make a statement. So it's kind of like a stop everything down and reset, get the guys out that you need to get out and move on. Part 2.
The top story here, obviously, is Hogan eventually eliminating Savage, and Savage hopping back in the ring and getting in Hogan's face. Was there ever any consideration of not putting the world champion in the match? I mean, I know these days we've got stakes, and whoever wins gets a title shot. And usually there's another title match on the pay-per-view somewhere. Was that ever considered here, or was it just deemed necessary for this advancement of the storyline?
Well, it was, look, we talked about Hulk and Randy getting into it. Didn't want to do that. But again, to really paint the picture of every man for himself, will the Mega Powers go against each other, or will they indeed explode? Didn't explode here, but it came close. It's just close enough. And to have the champion in the match at that time, we didn't have the stipulation that didn't come until 93, that the winner of the Royal Rumble would face the champion at WrestleMania. So it had some stakes on it. At this point, you were just the winner of the Royal Rumble.
Right.
So to have Hogan in it added prestige to it, just to have, Hulk in the match itself.
It's not the end of the Mega Powers. They haven't quite exploded, but as you said, we're right there. And next up, after Savage is out, here comes Bossman and Akeem. And eventually the Twin Towers are too much for Hulk Hogan. They toss him over the top rope, and you manage to get Hogan out of the spotlight. So the spotlight is there on Stud at the end, but it feels like at this point, the crowd sort of dies. Like they wanted Hogan. Hogan's going to pull
better than Kelsey's nuts.
Hogan,
better than a plate full of piss.
Hogan pulls Bossman out to eliminate him. It's not the last time we'd see Hogan pull somebody from the outside. I remember Sid at the 92 Rumble. Bobby Heenan was always right. Hulk Hogan was always a heel.
Yes.
Eventually, Big John Studd comes in at number 27. He's going to last 12 minutes and 21 seconds before he eliminates Akeem and Ted DiBiase. And he gets the victory. Meltzer would say, nobody seemed to care. Since Studd has had so little TV exposure,
nobody gave a shit.
What's going through your mind? Well, let me ask this. Where are you during this pay-per-view? Are you on headsets in the back in Gorilla or somewhere else?
Well, it was probably a Gorilla. I don't know if I was on headsets or just standing there.
So if you're watching on a monitor or whatever, and you hear the crowd, or matter of fact, you don't hear the crowd, are you just looking at Vince like, what the fuck are we doing? I
believe my comment was, well, that was part of church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, and to add to it, you had Stud's music, which was slow and boom, 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 boom. And there was no excitement to it. So he wins, boom, boom, boom. The music brought you down. And John wasn't the most charismatic guy in the world. And like, ooh. So I can do that. I can do that on my right shoulder. This is the one that got
surgery.
This is one I can do that all the way. I get this one right about there. April, we're going in again. We're going under the knife again, Connie.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You're gonna have the same type of surgery you had before?
Yeah.
Not looking forward to that, are you?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Sorry about that, dude.
So been through the last one, and now look. I mean, look. I can do this.
I feel like you're Stewart on Mad TV
and stuff. everything I can do, I can kind of like get to about there like that. Let's see. I go look and see. I can go like that. Kind of about like, yeah.
So on the right one, what you should do is you should hit them with some Stewart from Mad TV. Wave that thing around and go, look what I can do.
Yeah.
Hey, so hindsight being 2020, should Hogan have won? Eliminated Savage last and Hogan won?
I mean, you look, hindsight 2020, yeah, maybe that would have been a good story. Adding to it, the fact that Hulk eliminated Savage in it was where we wanted to go with the Mega Powers exploding. But we were looking to get Stud over, looking to get somebody new over. And Stud was going to be headlining. You know, you had your Hogan Savage headlining on one side, and then we had Stud headlining on the other side. And trying to get John to that place is what we were looking to do.
Well, it's a shame that we didn't get Hogan Must Pose and all that jazz. We did our best with old John Studd. I don't know when we'll talk about him again here on the program. Any final words on Big John Studd as we wind up our Rumble episode here?
No, you know, John was one of the guys early on in the 70s that was nice enough to talk to me and tell me things and just let me in a little bit. But he was always very, very kind and the epitome of a gentleman. So, you know, I always liked John. I thought John was awesome. John told me that he was going in to quit, you know, before he told Vince.
Wow.
And, you know, I felt, ugh. So I got the hell out of Dodge so he could tell Vince all by himself.
Why did he quit? Why did he walk away?
Because Andre was stepping on his head every night and just didn't want to do that anymore.
Do you know what, you know, Jim would often say, JR would often say, go learn a new hold. What was John's other trade? Was he a truck driver or was he a plumber? Was he a welder?
I don't know.
He a banker? It's just hard for me to imagine, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
know.
Big John Studd. I'm here for your pest control. What?
Man.
There's a giant walking around the house spraying for bugs.
It's a respectable profession.
Oh no, I'm with it. I'm for it. Some of my best friends.
He can probably reach up in the high places, you know.
I'm just saying he's a large human being to just be wandering through life doing regular gigs, I guess.
Yeah.
Of course, we know it doesn't quite work out for him. Looking back at this show, does this have sentimental value for you, being the first Rumble on pay-per-view and it being in Houston, or is this one you'd rather just forget?
No, it does for both reasons. It was exciting to be in Houston, in my hometown, to do a pay-per-view, and it was exciting to bring the Royal Rumble. It was now you had WrestleMania, you had Survivor Series, now you have Rumble. Oh, and SummerSlam. So, you know, you had the big four. Is that right?
Yes.
WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor, Rumble. So you had the big four. And that was kind of neat because now we're growing in the pay-per-view space and thinking, oh my God, are we oversaturating with 4 pay-per-views a year? Is that too much?
Right.
Things change.
Yes, they do. What doesn't change is we like to close the show here with a few different questions. We asked you guys for questions on Twitter. If you haven't already, throw us a follow at Prichard Show on Twitter and Instagram. It's Something to Wrestle on Facebook. Of course, you can also like, subscribe, and turn that notifications bell over on our YouTube at somethingtowrestle.com. If you'd like to follow Bruce and never see a tweet, he is at Bruce Prichard. I am at Hey, it's Conrad. Let's do a few and then we'll put a bow on this one, dude. Adrian Finn wants to know, why did Vince go against his usual Hogan must pose philosophy for this pay-per-view? And do you think it took away from the ending of the Rumble?
Well, yeah, we already had Warrior posing.
Right.
That's enough. You know, only have one babyface pose. I'll show you the rule book. Well, I don't have it here, but
it's on page 17. Last I checked.
Yeah. Only one babyface allowed to pose, man.
Mike Mills says, why was Ron Bass on the box of the home release, but John Studd wasn't? Because of that reaction after the live crowd.
No clue. Yeah, I don't know. For the life of me, I have no idea. Probably because those things back in the day were done so far in advance that, we may not have even had stud back at that point.
Gabriel wants to know, Rick Martel returned for the Rumble. Was he at this point in time still scheduled to turn on Tito at WrestleMania 5?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking to get Rick had always been that consummate baby face and looking to get a heel run out of Rick.
Jeff Stewart says, is there a better line in commentary than when Mr. Perfect gets kicked off of Andre the Giant and Gorilla makes fun of him? Jesse immediately says, but he flew perfectly.
He did. Exactly. Everything he did was perfect. It's a perfect ass whooping.
Mr. Breeze is clearly a longtime listener. He says, what would it sound like if Jerry Jarrett pitched the Rude Warrior pose down?
Huh? Well, you get when they do with their arm and their muscle, and then you get the oil, not the oil for the babies, and then you we're not talking Castrol. The fuck was that?
Here's one
in the eye with squirt, not like the circle squirt, but
that's a callback right there. That's a big callback. You got to be a long time listener to get that one. Hey, here's a fun question here that I know you're going to get fired up at because you're Bruce, right? Drew Landry wants to know, winning the Rumble didn't really mean much at this time. So what purpose did it have here outside of entertainment? Now, what Drew's saying differently is, there's no stakes. Was there a consideration for, maybe we should say this guy gets a title shot or this guy gets a big check or this guy cause we have had like the $15,000 body slam challenge or what have you, but here it's just, oh yeah. Hey, cool, man. He won a match.
Well, back in those days, Conrad, winning the goddamn match meant something. So winning a match against 30 other competitors means something. Yep. I'm sorry, whoever the fuck this is, and I guess they go through life getting participation trophies. No, back in my day, you earned a trophy. You earned a victory. You didn't just show up and here's your trophy. Oh, hey, let me give you a participation trophy. No, we don't play that, man. No, you got to earn what you get. All right. I do not believe in participation trophies, and I do believe that winning means you won. You keep score around here. You don't go out and play soccer and, we don't keep score because we don't want the children to be competitive. Life's a competition. Just like the Royal Rumble. Don't you forget that. Give them that example. By God, you win the Royal Rumble. By God, you're the Royal Rumble winner. Doesn't get any bigger than that.
Great question here from Gavin. If Haku versus Harley turned into a shoot, how do you break it up?
I'm not.
Yeah, fair to say.
Somebody.
Yeah, send somebody else for sure.
Yeah, somebody with clubs and gear.
Who would you have in a real deal street fight, Haku or Harley?
I think they had too much respect for each other to ever even go there. I think there was just too much genuine like and respect to ever go there. It wouldn't happen.
Lastly, but certainly not least, Yambag Jones wants to know, could we see Bruce do his impression of Warrior's pose down routine?
No.
Could we just hear the noises?
I got a bad shoulder.
Can we hear the noises?
I hate Warrior. I tried to do one of Warrior's promos, the fucked up promo where he tapes everybody up.
Yes. I
can't even do it.
You can't do that?
No, you know what? Trying to do him really does hurt my throat. I knew everybody else. I do the Vince gargling with razor blades, and
I don't know why, but you saying I can do everybody, but it hurts my throat. Next week, we're going to be talking about the end of Ken Shamrock in the WWF, how the Ultimate Fighter ends his run in the World Wrestling Federation between the corporation and the union, working with Chris Jericho at the end, why he never returned, and a whole lot more. In the meantime, boys and girls, I can't believe this is real. This Sunday marks the 35th anniversary of the most memorable angle in wrestling history, the famous twin referee angle with Earl and his brother Dave Hebner on the inaugural main event, where we would see Andre the Giant pin Hulk Hogan. And we have found Earl Hebner. He's going to be joining us for a watch along over at adfreeshows.com, and it happens this Sunday. So go check it out at adfreeshows.com. And by the way, if your business is targeting 25 to 54-year-old men, there's no better place to advertise than right here on Something to Wrestle With. If you've heard us do ads for some of the same companies year after year, you're probably wondering why. Well, because it works. With our super targeted audience, there's very little waste. Go to advertisewithbruce.com right now and find out about how to advertise here on Something to Wrestle With. That's advertisewithbruce.com. And before we get out of here, Bruce, I want to remind everybody that in my real life, I'm helping people keep more of their own money over at savewithconrad.com. If you're looking for a lower monthly payment, if you're looking to get rid of all your credit card debt, if you're looking to skip your next 2 house payments, maybe you're looking to buy a house, we can help you do all of that right now at savewithconrad.com. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. We're doing loans with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and the VA and FHA. And you can buy a house with 0 down on a VA loan or a USDA loan and as little as 3.5% down on an FHA loan. And again, you don't need perfect credit. We're routinely getting credit scores approved as low as 580, but if you got a 620, man, it is smooth sailing. Interest rates go all the way up to 850, so you don't need perfect credit. But if you're nervous about your credit, the first step is to talk to us. You see, at savewithconrad.com, we don't say no, but rather not yet, but here's how. We're going to get you a plan together to help you accomplish your financial goals at savewithconrad.com. And by the way, if you're not sure, check us out, man. We got an A+ rating with the BBB, or go read some of the reviews from folks who saved money with us, just like yourself, at conradreviews.com. Just today, earlier today, I got a 5-star review from Nathan in Pennsylvania. He wrote, "Great communication, always felt like I was a priority, and saving money is our priority for your family. So why not let my family hook you up at savewithconrad.com. NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Hey, and did I mention no house payments for 2 months? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. Bruce, thanks for the time today, man. Today was a lot of fun. I love talking about the Royal Rumble. And hey, man, WrestleMania season is upon us. I hope everybody tunes in to SmackDown tonight. I know we don't talk about current stuff, but we had some cliffhangers at the Royal Rumble, and I, for one, am counting the hours to tonight's show.
Can't wait, can't wait.
Check it out, SmackDown tonight on Fox, and then tune in next Friday and every Friday right here on Something to Wrestle with Bruce Prichard.
Rock on!
Hey guys, I'm pumped to brag about a brand new sponsor here on the program, and is a personal friend of mine for many, many years. I'm talking to you about Camper Max, specializing in max discounted pricing on travel trailers and fifth wheel RVs that can be delivered anywhere in the lower 48. That's right, from your office, your cell phone, or your couch. Click or call and find out how easy it is to start enjoying that RVing lifestyle. Now, how easy is it? Well, the Camper Max discount will fit any budget, offering easy financing with extended terms. It's just too easy thanks to my pal, Rod Wagner. I've been personal friends with Rod for a long, long time, and he is now opening up to the entire lower 48. So if you're here in the United States and you're thinking about buying a travel trailer, you're thinking about buying a fifth wheel RV, or maybe you're thinking of selling yours, visit my buddy Rod at campermax.com. That's CAMPERMAXX.com, campermax.com. That's Max with 2 X's. Or give him a call, 256-320-7033. Either way, let the folks at Camper Max know that Conrad sent you, and they're going to give you that friend of a friend hookup that I've enjoyed for so many years. Camper Max is the home of the Max discount. That's campermax.com, campermaxx.com. By the way, if you're looking to purchase a motorhome, hang in there. My buddy Rod is working on that now. It's all going down at campermax.com. Let's get out there. Let's enjoy 2023. This could be one heck of a new year, thanks to campermax.com or 256-320-7033, and let them know that Conrad sent you. Yeah. Can't believe this is real, but Wooo Wings, your very own virtual restaurant concept, is now open, and fans can enjoy the legendary flavors and world championship wings by ordering with their Uber Eats or Postmates app. Wooo Wings is now open in Nashville, San Antonio, Jacksonville, as well as Huntsville and Tuscaloosa, right here in Alabama. Many more locations coming soon. As a virtual restaurant, Wooo Wings is looking to partner with existing restaurants in major metro areas. Tell your favorite sports bar or local restaurant you want Wooo Wings in your town, and to visit RicFlairWings.com for more information on how to become a partner. But if you're in Nashville, San Antonio, Jacksonville, Huntsville, or Tuscaloosa, just hop on your Uber Eats or Postmates app and look for Wooo Wings and try the only chicken wings worthy of carrying the name of the 16-time world heavyweight champion, Wooo Wings. Be sure to check out RicFlairWings.com to become a partner.